brings this under pressure. India lift the World Cup after 28 years. The party begins in Mumbai.
What a video, what a day. We can still feel that day and its energy. So here we are, we've come a long way, and here we are putting an end to all the masala
That's a good one. That's a good start to the
and
conversation.
all the spice. So,
Bring up the heat! I got no choice but to go hard.
Gautam bhai, we have come a long way from playing together for a long time. Me coming into the team when you guys were obviously established and had that amazing dressing room that I became a part of, to playing a lot of cricket together, to having our ups and downs.
but everything in good spirit.
Of course,
honestly,
of course. Firstly, I wanted to ask you, while playing, would you have thought that you would be in this place, in this role, not in India, but in general? Did you have an intent to coach at any point in your career?
Okay, first let me start this. When you spoke about we came a long way, the thing is I saw you making your debut to playing that's really important, very good knock in Champions Trophy in South Africa on a tricky wicket against West Indies, against a really good attack, and then playing probably the best one-day inning that has been played by an Indian. And I've said it before, not here because you're sitting in front of me, I've said it not purely from a point of view because guys have got double hundreds as well. When I talk about because it's the best inning I've seen is because the quality of opposition, the attack, the conditions, chasing 300 plus against Pakistan. So you've come along and you've done some really special things. And most importantly for me, I think how you've taken Indian cricket forward is probably the legacy what you've left for the next generation to follow.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And
Now, if you can answer
me,
my question.
Yeah, the question, never thought about it. In fact, never thought about coaching India even a couple of months back, if you ask me. The reason obviously first, it's an absolute honor to be representing your country once again, coming back in the dressing room, where you've spent a lot of time and you've done some special things, had some great memories with all of you guys. When you look forward, looking at the kind of tours we've got, Champions Trophy there is, and there is T20 World Cup and 50 over World Cup. So obviously sometimes you want to challenge yourself and keep pushing yourself forward. And that was one of the reasons why I thought that yes, I can contribute. When you've got a younger family and spending 10 months on the road away from your two girls, and then it will always be challenging. But then again, unless and until you do not have the support of the family, it is always difficult to take up these decisions.
100%. And I guess if the challenge is not exciting enough for you to be away from your family, you're not able to do it. I'm fortunate enough that I grew up in a time where and I clearly remember when we used to have Kotla 1 and Kotla 2, and we used to, you guys, before you played for India, there used to be Ranji Trophy camps happening in Kotla 1. So when we came through the clubhouse and we came down the steps and we used to walk in that corridor in front of the change rooms, every time we looked on the left, there was this thing of, man, I want to be there. Like, it was just, this is something else. This is a different level. And we saw the difference in the level because I guess the idea was to play test cricket for India, and that was always the goal. And you could see the quality in technique, in temperament, in the quality of fielding sessions, and you were like, this is where I want to be. This was my first aspiration, was I want to play first class cricket for Delhi, that this is the highest level. And I guess for you guys at that time, your reality was completely different because you had reached there. So what was your mindset when you thought of test cricket growing up as a cricketer?
I still feel the same. I think it is the pinnacle, and that is all I wanted to do. I remember making my one-day debut before my test debut. And for me, the most special moment is receiving a cap from Paulie Umrikar, my test cap. And it still remains my best memory in cricket. Yes, because the thing is, for us, especially for someone like me or for you, when we were growing up, there was no T20 format at that time, and there was no IPL as well. So all we had was looking forward to first-class cricket and then getting into the team and then making into the test side. Yes, obviously you wanted to play 50 over format as well, but we growing up as kids, or probably growing up in the cricket environment, we always thought that we will always be judged by what we do in red ball cricket. And the legacy that you can leave behind, that can only happen is when you start doing well in test cricket. And that's the reason why I feel that you guys are the torch players of test cricket, because you have played a massive role when you spoke about how important test cricket is for you. Because in today's day and age, I think the challenge will always remain how we can motivate the next generation of cricketers to keep thinking the same way how you or people of your generation have thought about test cricket. And if we can continue doing that with the next generation, I think Indian cricket will be really strong. And I'm a very strong believer, Virat, in one thing, that the stronger your test team is, the stronger your cricket is.
No, I completely agree with that. Now you can understand where the competition comes from, because the perspective is very similar. And the thing that excited me about test cricket, and when I was coming up and I had the chance to lead the test side, was the challenge. We were transitioning then, when you guys had made way for a younger team, and my guy was always, he left test captaincy. So for me, it was like, oh, I'm 25 and I have this team of 25, 24-year-olds, and how do we become that team that is household names, like you guys became? And I was like, I sat down and I thought, I really need to plan this out. It just can't happen by chance. When I started thinking from the point of view where Indian cricket has to be in 7 years' time, the solutions came. We need a group of fast bowlers. We need batsmen who can bat long. We need to give ownership to 5 batters and a keeper to get us 350, 400 runs. We can't have a 7th option to give cushion to the batters. So all these things started playing in my mind, and then the communication happened accordingly. It was purely because of the challenge that was in front of me, and I remember it excited me. I didn't feel like, oh, I don't want any part of this. And that's when I was like, I'm all in, and this is the vision, and this is where we're going to go. And I guess that's how you create culture in the change room. And what is your point of view today where we stand? Creating that culture is something that you would look at as your challenge in this role?
I can understand what you must have gone through, 25-year-old boy taking up the test captaincy, and then what you did brilliantly was that you had built a really, really strong bowling unit. And test matches are won by taking 20 wickets. till the time you don't have a strong bowling lineup, you will, and that is what made you the most successful Test captain in the country. And the credit has to go to you, because as a batter, it is very easy to have strong 6-7 batters putting runs on the board. But the way you identified, and more importantly, the attitude what you got on the field with the fast bowlers, especially imagine having people like Shami, Bumrah, Ishan, Umesh, and then winning overseas. And I remember you playing that knock in Adelaide where when India was chasing 400, that was your first game as captain, and then you still wanted to win that Test match. And that is the mindset which we want. That's the culture, and that's why I say when you talk about what culture do we want to bring in going forward, that people want to play red ball cricket. And the best format in cricket, if you want to judge someone's personality, if you want to judge someone's character, is push him in Test cricket, and you'll get to know everything about him. Because it's actually, to be a successful cricketer, a player in Test cricket, you don't need to be the most skillful. You need much more beyond being the most talented and the skillful cricketer. You need discipline, you need patience, you need fight, you need compassion, you need emotions, you need sympathy, you need everything, because you fight for 5 days and still you don't know whether you're going to get the results or not.
Right.
So I feel that if we can build that culture where people come in and say, this is the priority. And when you spoke about having a strong red ball team, I think a lot will depend on the next generation of bowlers.
Yeah.
Because, we will keep getting batters, we will keep getting quality batters, and that is how the structure in Indian cricket has been formed. But do the younger generation has the motivation to go out there and bowl 20 overs? For example, I spoke to Jasprit yesterday. He just loves bowling.
Yeah.
He just wants to bowl. Yeah. But do the next generation of fast bowlers have that enjoyment to bowl 20 overs in a day in Chennai's heat? And whether the spinners bowling 30 overs in a day, do you enjoy doing that? If you enjoy doing that, that's the only way you'll be motivated to play red ball cricket. And that is where I think it is important, and there's got to be a challenge for all of us to figure out who those guys are, especially having a strong bowling lineup.
If you look at the generation of bowlers we've just had, when you talk about Ishant Sharma, the first thing that comes to mind is the spell at Perth.
Yes.
Ricky Ponting as a youngster. If you talk about his cricket career, Ishant Sharma, 100 plus Test matches for India. Zaheer Khan, these many wickets for India in Test cricket, and a great 50-over World Cup. Mohammad Shami is not a world-renowned bowler because he's a great T20 bowler. He's one of the best Test bowlers in the world, and what he did in the 50-over World Cup adds value. Bumrah, when we speak about Bumrah, we don't talk about his T20 Yorkers. Yesterday we were talking about this. He's the most complete all-format bowler.
Yes.
So when you bring in the value of a cricketer, you cannot place that value separating the other two formats. The value of, and if you really want to be valued as a cricketer, which I guess we all want to understand, our respect that we gain in cricket world or with our peers, it's always going to come with the other longer formats as well. And the same with Siraj. The USP of a Siraj today is he wants to play Test cricket, and he's hungry to do well in Test cricket, and he wants to win away from home. So I guess these are the values that other cricketers can look up to, even from the current lot. Bumrah is not from the generation that when we started, but they still have that drive. So I guess it's to identify those individuals as well.
One thing which is very common, that they enjoy doing what they're doing, and they for that not even enjoy, they love doing what they're doing. So that is something. Mohammad Siraj, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, for that matter,
He loves
these guys. They love bowling. For them, it was kind of meditation. For them, it was kind of peace, because when they were bowling, they were in that zone. And that's the reason why India had such a strong bowling lineup. And hopefully in coming future, we can identify those kind of guys who love bowling, who wants to just go out there and keep doing it day in, day out.
Let's talk about a few moments in India-Australia series. And I guess the most special one for you would be your double 100 in your home ground. I won't talk about the elbow because I can understand why the elbow would have happened. But I want to talk about the mindset of the innings, and in that particular innings, what keeps you grounded and anchored?
Great question. It's a really important thing. I think for me, rather than talking about me, I remember when you had that bumper series in Australia where you scored heaps and heaps of runs. You were telling me that you kept saying Om Namo Shivaya before every delivery. And that got you in that zone. And for me, it was exactly the same when I played in Napier. And if I look back, can I bat for another 2.5 days? I don't think so. I could have ever done that again. But the only thing I did throughout those 2.5 days was listening to Hanuman Chalisa. So for you, getting into that zone before every delivery was chanting Om Namo Shivaya. For me, listening to Hanuman Chalisa got me in that zone. When I talk about being in that zone, the reason I say that is that very few times in your career, you can actually be in that zone. And it's divine to be in that zone, because only you can experience. I remember Lakshman telling me when I was batting on day 5 at Napier, and after that first session we were walking back, and he told me that, do you even realize that you did not utter a word for 2 hours, even between the overs? And actually I realized that I did not even say a word. All I did between overs was just nod. And then when I got back, all I did was put on Hanuman Chalisa and got back in my zone. So for 2.5 days, it was as if I was completely zoned out, and I have never been in that zone ever in my life after that. So I can imagine how good that feeling is to be in that zone, and I'm sure you must have experienced this many more times as compared to what I have. Unless and until you've not experienced that, you will never be able to understand what it is to be in that zone.
Right. The biggest factor for all of us being in this environment is we want to win. And from that motivation, everything starts working backwards. I've had many young guys come to me and ask me, how do you do the calculation in a chase? I always tell them, for me, a chase has always been clarity. You know exactly what you need to do. And if your motivation is to win, you will find a way. You can't say, this is the way I play, and great if we get to the result. For me, it's always been, I want the result first. And if that requires me to play aggressive cricket, I'll play aggressive cricket. If it requires me to run, I'll run. If it requires me to play shots on the ground, I will play shots on the ground. If it requires me to leave the ball for 3 hours, I will leave the ball for 3 hours. And I guess if you don't want that victory so badly, you will not be able to work out the solutions. Is that something that you also feel?
A youngster comes to you and talk about that, how do you plan a run chase? The only way you can plan a run chase is when you're not looking at your individual score, you're looking at what you need to achieve, where you need to reach, what is the target, where you want to be.
Yeah.
If that is the target, and that is where actually I fumbled in 2011 World Cup final. And when people ask me about did I have to play that shot or why did I play that shot, the reason why I played that shot because before that shot I was only thinking about what we needed to chase. And the moment you reach 97, then you start thinking I'm just one shot away from getting my own milestone. And how am I going to celebrate? Whether I'm going to celebrate like this, first Indian to score 100 in the World Cup final, and the disappointment was not missing out on 100. The disappointment was giving the opposition a breather. Imagine getting opposition back in the game. So I feel that these are small things which the next generation has to think from a point of view that how important it is to stay in the present. Because all you can control in cricket is that moment, that one particular contest. What has happened, what's going to happen has not happened as yet. So for me, I think and that is also mental toughness. If you can do that, I think that is also one way of being in that zone.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you one question about when we have, especially when you're batting, because in the field it's easy to have altercations with the opposition and carry on. But when you're batting and you have a bit of a chat with the opposition, did you ever feel like this might carry on to you going out of the zone and you potentially getting out, or it put you in a more motivated space?
You had more alterations than I had.
I
think you can answer the question better than I can.
नहीं, मैं तो ये ढूंढ रहा हूँ कि मेरी बात से agree कर जाए। ये नहीं बोल रहा कि गलत है, मैं कोई तो बोले हाँ यही होता है।
That's the personality you have. That's the personality I had. I sometimes wanted that.
Yeah.
Confrontation. I wanted it, honestly. Sometimes I wanted that, okay. And sometimes that confrontation can get you in that zone as well. Come what may.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. And see, I don't want guys to change one bit.
Yeah.
For example, and you don't want guys to change either. Because if tomorrow, when you will look back at your career and someone would ask you the same question, that would you regret anything in your career that you've had so many confrontations with the opposition, you will say not at all. Because ultimately it's about how you can get the results, how you can score runs.
Yeah.
And I don't think so that ever in my life I've had sledging with the opposition. It has probably got me out of that zone. All it has done is probably helped me more as compared to probably helped me less.
We've had a lengthy discussion on a lot of things, which has been wonderful. And from how I see things moving forward is to, I guess, create a culture where, as you're saying, we're not worried about what's being said on the outside. And that can only happen with trust and belief that all decisions that are taken are only for one goal, which is for the betterment of the team and in turn Indian cricket. The guys will be excited and happy, and I'm sure that looking forward to this test season with 10 test matches and obviously Champions Trophy coming up as well. It'll be an exciting one. It'll be one with a lot of exciting moments, a lot of memories to create, and hopefully a lot of success for us as a team as well.
So Virat, the next guest is Rohit. What do you want me to ask? What should be the first question to Rohit Sharma?
I think it's a very simple question for Rohit. कि सुबह भीगे बादाम खाते हो कि नहीं?
ठीक है, 11 सुबह 11 बजे की जगह रात को 11 बजे आ रहे हो।
PM ना हो जाए। तो रोहित, ये आपके लिए सवाल होगा. So that's, I guess, all from us. Thank you, Gautam bhai, for having this amazing chat and answering my questions, and I guess a lot of the public questions elaborately as well. So until next time.